I never liked Pastor Johann. He was too young, too smooth with his words, and his eyes were cold, like he saw straight through you. But he was a man of God, or so we thought. So we gave him the respect his title demanded. It was in a small village in rural Hungary, where the church was the heart of the town. Pastor Johann came one autumn, replacing old Father Miklos, who had passed quietly in his sleep. From the start, things felt wrong. Johann's sermons were fiery, full of damnation and judgment. Unlike the gentle words we were used to, the church started to feel colder, darker, even on sunny days. One evening, during a prayer meeting, I saw something I can't unsee. Johann was kneeling before the altar, back to us, leading the prayer. As I bowed my head, I noticed his shadow on the floor. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but as I stared, I realized something was off. His shadow didn't match his movements. When he raised his arms in prayer, the shadow stayed still. When he turned his head to one side, the shadow seemed to look the other way. I nudged my neighbor, Clara, to see if she noticed, but when she looked, the shadow was normal again. I felt foolish for even mentioning it. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. Something about that shadow stuck in my mind. I decided to walk to the church. It was foolish, I know, but curiosity has always been my weakness. The streets were quiet. The only sound was my footsteps on the cobblestones. When I reached the church, the heavy doors were slightly ajar. Inside, the air was thick, and the candles on the altar burned with a strange greenish hue. That's when I heard the whispers. They weren't in Hungarian or any language I recognized. They came from the altar, low and hissing. I hid behind a pew and peeked out. Johann was there, but he wasn't alone. Something stood beside him, a figure cloaked in shadows, taller than any man, with long, spindly fingers that seemed to writhe like snakes. Johann was speaking to it, his voice low and trembling. "Have I done enough?" he asked. "Will you give me what you promise?" The shadow thing didn't speak, but its form shifted, like smoke caught in a draft. Johann cried out, clutching his head, and for a moment his face was wrong. His features twisted, his mouth stretched too wide, his eyes black as coal. I stumbled backward, knocking over a candlestick. The noise echoed through the church, and both Johann and the shadow turned toward